Thanks for catching another episode of the City Savvy Show. I'm Kristen Erner, and I'm here with Sam Hewit, who is Realtor Development for Royal LePage Signature. What is it that you do?
That's a great question. Thanks for having me today. Yeah. What is it that I do? My main function here at the brokerage is to help realtors build predictable, repeatable businesses. So I am in charge of all of our learning and development programs. I do a lot of business coaching. I answer questions. I help realtors through scenarios with difficult clients, listings not selling, challenges with deal closings, things like that.
Right. You also do a show twice a week.
I do, yeah. So I have my own little show, which you've been a guest on before, so thank you. I co-host Signature Live, which is our program we host for our team of realtors. Twice a week, we have guest speakers. We have agent speakers such as yourself. We have case studies. We talk about best practices. We go through, like next week, we've got a litigation lawyer coming on to talk about challenges with deal transactions. So yeah, hosting the show is a big part of what I do.
So realtor development is very unique because everybody's different and unique in themselves. I mean, how do you approach it? How do you say, okay, there's Kristen, there's Laura, there's Jazz. We're all three very different people. Mm-hmm. How do you approach?
Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very similar strategy to how I encourage the team of realtors to approach their database of people. I think you have to look at your group of people and you have to kind of market yourself wide to them, but you also have to market yourself deep. And what I mean by that is, you, for example, are in our top group of realtors. So you represent, the top 3% of realtors across Canada. And so we spend time with you as a group and we develop learning opportunities for you as a group because your business is very unique from someone who, say, has been in the business for 6 months and has only done a couple of deals. So we segment wide. We spend time with you in a group setting. We host learning programs based on where you are in your business. But then you and I also have deep conversations where we talk about your business in particular and, hiring an admin person or, what to do on your social media or, how to market in your farm area or your listing presentation. And so I spend time with you one-on-one to try to help you achieve your business goals specific to who you are.
So for me, it was a game changer when we first took this journey. You helped me develop a listing presentation, which took about a half a year to do. And once we did that and, articulated everything we needed to say inside of that presentation, it became this visual model for all my listings. Mm-hmm. And I was just saying to Jazz today that like conversations, everyone is different and every listing presentation is unique in itself. And so, but this model of what I do, it says, okay, I do staging, I do walkthroughs, we talk about paint consultations, there's everything, nothing is left. When I say at the end, have I missed anything? Have I left anything out? And the answer always is no. Mm-hmm. You've said it all, it's all there. And I think that's where belonging to a company like this that has realtor development like yourself is super, super helpful. And I can't imagine, I grew up in a real estate family and I thought that I would never leave the family business, but that family business being sold off was the best thing that ever actually happened to my career because I learned very quickly how to grow up and stand on my own 2 feet and do what I want to do and how I want to do it. And that was the best step for me. So I certainly appreciate you and Jeff and Chris and everybody else here in this company because you have brought people to a certain level that I can work with these people, which is great, which is really nice in an organization with how many people?
We have a couple. We've got just over 1,400 licensed realtors. Wow. And I think, Kristen, to sort of piggyback on what you said, I think, the best part of what I do is, when someone like yourself takes those ideas and executes on them. So, when you and I developed your listing presentation, all I really did was take what you already do and help you package it. Right. You actually have one of the strongest value propositions from a listing presentation perspective than I've seen. And I knew everything you were doing because I do the staging and your before and afters with how you take a property and turn them into something at the end. You're one of the best in the industry. All I did was say to you, let's try to tell the story a little bit better and package it so when we're meeting with potential sellers, they understand what it is you're providing to them. You're doing the heavy lifting.
Absolutely. It's kind of like having Cole's Notes, right?
Yes.
When it's a how-to guide, right?
Correct. So, I'm just helping you cheat.
Absolutely. Well, not really. So, you mentioned 1,400 licensed realtors. I mean, that's a lot of voices in your head.
Yes.
I mean, to think
a lot of people.
There's a lot of people. And a lot of those people are coming to you and they're asking you, well, as we know, the market's changed, and it's changed. In my lifetime, I remember the early '80s. We had a recession, and I know my parents, they get into these little not schemes, they're businesses. Even though real estate was our foundation, they owned a funeral home, for example, back in the early '80s, and it was a dying business for them. So it wasn't a yes. So it wasn't a great business. And then they opened up these hot dog stands all over the city called Dolly's Hot Dogs. And I just remember the bumps and the ebbs and the ties. And, 89 was probably the worst that I remember. From 89 to 95 is where we bottomed out. 2008, really, I didn't notice much. And now maybe here we go again. But how do you see it? Like with all the voices in your head and all the realtors how do you foresee what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the biggest thing I think that we see happening right now, as opposed to those other time periods that you referenced, is that I think we're a lot more knowledgeable now as an industry, as a society, as, a country. I think maybe arguably the Bank of Canada could have looked at increasing those rates a little bit earlier. I think maybe we were a little flat-footed at trying to, bring inflation back into line, which is why now we're seeing this jumbo increase. The media has coined it, 100 basis points, highest since, I believe, 98. But I think in general, what we're really seeing right now is that, folks that understand, real estate agents that understand how to educate consumers, how to educate their clients, how to get back to the basics of what our business really is about are going to be just fine. And, consumers, home buyers and home sellers, most of the people that are experiencing some choppiness right now are active sellers in the market that have to sell.
Right.
And in a lot of the pockets where we're having some difficulty, it's the pockets where they went way up during COVID. So we saw these huge 15, 20, 30, 40% increases over a couple years. Well, now that's pulling back. And so that's where we're sort of seeing a little bit of a challenge. But the way I see it, I think the Bank of Canada has done an amazing job at messaging out what we can expect. Governor Macklem said, we're trying to get to 3 or maybe just over 3 is the overnight lending rate, which means in September we'll probably see another 75-point basis increase. And then I think things will level off. And then we'll just find our footing and keep moving along.
Off we go again. And there's certainly a need, when we're still building the same amount of homes that we have been 20 years ago to today, there's not enough homes. And so that leads to now a rental market that's going crazy. Which, if we're talking interest rates, going up, but so are rental rates. So right now may be a good time to actually buy an investment property.
Right now is a great time to buy an investment. I mean, I think really at the end of the day, any time is a good time to buy an investment property, because I think where also people get into trouble is when they're trying to time the market.
Right.
Virtually impossible. And so I think if you're, getting great advice from a realtor such as yourself, and, you have a clear understanding of the cash involved, the time involved, you're being educated on a good neighborhood, sort of what your goals are from an investment perspective, there's arguably never a bad time, because really you're going to win if you have a long-term mindset in this industry, right? The people that struggle as an investor, buy something, maybe they buy it pre-construction and they say, well, I hear this all the time, well, I'm going to flip it before it's done. I'm like, it's not quite as easy as it sounds.
Right.
There's some nuances in there. But I think ultimately, if you are thinking of making a move now, especially if you're in like that move up market, if you're a person who's been in your house for 3 or 4 or 5 years, you've done really, really well, and you're thinking maybe now's the time I move into that next dream house, now is the time I think that there's great opportunity for that.
And I think that's what we're finding. We're finding a lot of our sellers that are living, or a lot of our clients that are living in condos are now ready to move up because it's a perfect opportunity. What they couldn't afford back in January of this year, they can now all of a sudden afford it. So you might be getting a little bit less on your sale, but you're gaining that much more on your purchase, right?
Correct.
So definitely a good time. We talked about strategies, and I was listening to one of the meetings, and I heard a realtor mention that it's not for the faint,
not for the faint of heart.
Not for the faint of heart, but it's doable still. In some of the micro markets and macro markets out there, we're still seeing multiple offers.
Correct.
And so we decided to kind of not do a test, but we thought, okay, we're going to go to Sam, figure out pricing strategies. And so we used the 30% less. And we had 4 listings come out on Monday. And the leader is the one that we did the test where it's 30% under. We've had 32 showings in 3.5 days.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So that's
for you guys.
So again, but good for you as well, because there's no sense having inventory out there if it's not going to sell. It just makes us look bad as realtors. And so this is the important part with realtor development, is that these opportunities of learning are out there and made possible by you, by Chris, by Jeff. And so that invaluable information has given now our clients the ability to have their property seen, because a week ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said all those buyers are gone. Where are they? We thought that maybe everybody has taken off and they're at their cottage and they're not around, but the market truly is still out there.
It is still out there, and there's so many things I think in that statement you just made, Kristen, that are important and worth kind of unpacking. First of all, yes, the strategy of trying to list 30% under what you think the property might sell for is still bringing buyers out, especially in that under $1 million market, and especially in the pockets where maybe we're not seeing as much downward pressure on pricing, some of the pockets that popped a lot during COVID. But the sort of asterisk to that whole statement is that it takes a very good realtor to be able to educate the client. If you walk into a house of an average homeowner in this country and you say, I want you to list your property, we think it's going to sell for $950, so we want you to list it at, $649 or $599, they're going, what? What? Who is this person in my house? They don't know what they're doing. It takes a skilled individual like yourself that's been doing this for a long time, that can understand how to help clients take the data in front of them and apply it to their scenario, for the homeowner to say, you know what? I trust you, Kristen, and I'm willing to go and try that strategy with you. So we have the ability at the brokerage to be able to, survey what's happening. We have a large, data pool of people to pull from. I have lots of conversations all day long with people, so I'm able to see what's been happening and provide strategy for everybody else.
Right.
But the strategy only works if you're able to articulate it correctly and educate your client and explain the data points. And going back to your listing presentation, present the property in a way that's going to bring buyers.
100%.
So when we're talking about this idea of this, strategy that we discuss, I joke with people, it's sort of like, it's like dating. You can't just have the person tick one box. It can't just be 30% under market and then not look nice and not be staged.
Depends
and be
on how desperate you are.
Right? Depends on how long you haven't been for dinner for. But in order for the strategy to work, which you are so good at doing, it has to tick all those boxes.
Right.
It's got to present well. It's got to be staged. It's got to be clean. It's got to be decluttered. It has to be, photographed well. It has to have your placards. It's got to have the right pricing strategy. It's got to have the right description. It's all of these things that work together. It's not one single piece of the puzzle.
I think what also makes it easy to articulate is the fact that there are so many listings that are not selling right now. They're just sitting on the market.
Yes.
And the way I present it to people is I say, well, if they're sitting at 700,000 and they've sat there for 18 days, well, guess what? We're going to have to do something different to bring the people in, because 700,000, I can actually look to see online to see if there's any bookings happening, and there's nothing happening. Well, why are we going to do the same thing? Correct. So we don't really know what real value is right now. It's hard to tell. So the best thing to do is price it under, I think, what we perceive as value, and make a percentage out of it, like you have. And then get the people in there and let them decide what it's worth, right? So, so that's the key to this kind of market. And are you finding, again, with all of these voices and all these minds out there that are licensed with our brokerage, are you finding that a lot of people are taking this approach?
Yeah, I mean, when we were on the show last week, and someone said, I tried this and it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, I think, if you get 30 offers on a property because you've priced it aggressively low, which is the strategy working, you're going to get a whole bunch of offers that are maybe, it brings not so great. It brings people out that are thinking, well, maybe they're desperate, and it's not that we're desperate, and that comes back to explaining the strategy. But it is working, and it is working. I had an agent yesterday who brought out a property at 159, and they sold it for 2.1.
Right.
So it's working in different price points and in different neighborhoods. But again, it's all of those things that we talked about. It can't just be priced 30% lower and look terrible. It has to have all of the components to the strategy. Yeah,
you can't. I always say on the listings, and this is true, we do not make a lot of money on listings.
I know.
It's when we actually take once we sold the property, we take the now buyers out to get them a new property is where we kind of make up, because we make an investment on all of our listings. Super important to put money into it, and it's our money, not the seller's money. And so we're taking this risk right up front, and because we're confident that we're going to sell the property. So we all have to be kind of like-minded. They have to agree to want to work with us, and we have to agree to want to work with them if we're going to make this kind of investment. And I think what you say, that if you don't do everything, follow all the boxes, then guess what? It's not going to work. So super, super important. And so that now set aside, and I do also believe that we're going to bottom out not too long from now. I think it's going to be very similar to 17, I think. So, once that happens, and this is where we're telling our sellers that this is a great opportunity, because maybe in 6-7 months now the market's going like this again, you won't have an opportunity. So this is very important to maybe consider listing your home for sale. What other things would you like to add with this market?
I think, going back to your last comment there, I think it's important. You are, you and your entire team at City Savvy, you guys are so good that you don't take enough credit for what you do, frankly. Not every realtor takes a listing and spends thousands and thousands in getting it ready and prep work and staging and everything else. It's not, I think sometimes when you're very good at what you do, I think it looks easy. And so homeowners think, oh, it's just so easy. But you make it look easy because you've refined your process and you know exactly what works, but that's because you're so good at it. And it's important, I think, for consumers and buyers and sellers listening, like not every realtor puts in the same level of care and concern and time and effort and money into their listings.
Right.
That really is something that only the top realtors do, like yourself and your team. And the fact that you're so dedicated to helping your sellers get every nickel is important for us to kind of talk about. You're so humble that I'll say that for you. I think when it comes to what else we're seeing out there, I agree with you. I think we're going to find sort of a steadying of prices, and I think we're going to find once we hit September and there's another announcement from the BOC. I think whenever there's change in our market, it makes buyers go, okay, I better wait and see what's going to happen, right? And so I think that's why, obviously, you're getting pressure on the rental market, because people are going to remove themselves as buyers and they're going to rent instead. And I agree with you. I think that if you're a seller, you want to make sure that you've had a conversation with a realtor to say, what does it look like right now for me? Because we really only know what we know right now. And right now, things are good. This isn't a bad market. I think part of the challenge that I caution my team of realtors is they'll say, well, the market's crashing, or it's this or it's that. And I'm like, okay, let's just be careful of our language, because it's actually quite healthy, to be honest. It's not healthy for Durham to go up 100% in 2 years. Like, that's not healthy.
No.
The fact that things are kind of bubbling along right now, very normal, especially for people like us who have been through, more than one market and more than one economy. And so I think, I caution realtors when they're using this language to think about it. And I caution homeowners and home buyers to think about, make sure you're communicating with someone that understands the market and you're not just listening to those headlines, because, jumbo rate increase sounds really scary, when in reality, it's because we haven't had one in a really, really long time. And all of a sudden the BOC is going, oh boy, inflation's out of control. So I really just think from an overall commentary of what to expect or what to think about, I think it's getting great advice from a professional, and really having someone that can explain to you, that you can understand from what's really happening in your pocket, in your micro market, because not every realtor is the same. Not every realtor studies the data the way you do and the way, most of our signature realtors do.
And I think as a brokerage, you do a good job, because I certainly like to listen, and I sit there in my office and I listen to your shows, and I love I like the stats, and I like the data, because I can pass that along, and passing that along helps the community know what's going on, what's really going on, because you're not going to get that from a lot of media outlets, and you don't get the true story or had the true picture painted for you. As again, realtor development, what are we going to see from you?
From me as an individual or from my team?
From your team.
Oh.
Or from you as how about both?
How about both? Okay. So, I mean, I think, listen, we do have a lot of agents here, but I've got a great team around me. I've got great people. We've got great management staff. I mean, I'm not the only one, working hard over here for sure. I think for us as an organization, we're really focused on helping agents achieve their goals. That's really what it comes down to. We make the grand assumption that in our culture, most people want to get better. We have our big rallies and our kickoffs, and I ask the question most of the time, like, who wants to have a better year this year than they did last year? Almost everyone's hand goes up. And so I like that. I like that about our culture and about what we're trying to build here, because no one wants to go to work, and I don't want to go to work and stay the same. That's not why I do this. It's not why I work so hard. So I definitely think you can expect from us as a company to continue to have a forward focus on helping our agents. We want to be the best. We want to be the best. We want to have the best people. We want to have, realtors that provide the best experience to the consumer. There's bad apples out there, just like there's bad financial planners and there's bad accountants and there's bad everyone in every industry. And so we recognize that someone that can give great advice and can really educate a consumer is important and worthwhile. And so that's really kind of what we're focused on. For me as an individual, I just want to keep getting better. I want to keep, helping my people. I want to keep, having a focus on collectively, how do we get to where we want to go? Mm-hmm. I think it's not for everyone. I think execution is really challenging. Making real change is really challenging. And I like to lead by example, and my team knows I'm not perfect. I haven't been on the Peloton in 6 days now. I'm like, oh, God, get on the bike. But that's what happens. You fall off and you get back on.
Right.
You fall off and you get back on. And that's not just a bike pun. That's a, everything else kind of conversation. And so that's a little bit of what you can expect from us. We've got our big sales rally coming up. We've got a big name coming, which I won't announce yet. But yeah, we've got some good things coming. We're excited.
Fantastic. I think again, I can't say it enough. Being with the right brokerage means everything. I wouldn't be who I am if it weren't for your team.
Thank you.
And I think that's good for everybody out there that we work with, because it just helps us get the results that you want, like getting that last nickel, that last $5, whatever it is. We try to do the best we can for you, and we do it with integrity. I think we're, if I'm not mistaken, Royal LePage Signature is the only company with its own economist. Or Urbanation, am I not?
We are the only company with an exclusive partnership with.
Okay, so that to me is super important, because again, when we have our updates, you're getting really good information, and I think that's what kind of separates us from a lot of others. And there's a lot of good companies out there, but I feel that I've made the right partnership myself, and for that I really thank you, and I look forward. I think we have a meeting coming up tomorrow that I'm looking forward to, and I look forward to growing with you, with everybody out there, and it's been marvelous working with you, and I thank you for being my guest.
You're very welcome.
This was the City Savvy Show. Please tune in and give us your comments.